So before the slasher genre became a thing, there were a few films that are considered pre-slasher slashers. I alluded to that when we talked about Halloween, and one of those movies is Black Christmas. Came out in 1974, directed by Bob Clark, written by Roy Moore. Black Christmas is the story of some sorority sisters being stalked and killed by a stranger on Christmas break in their sorority house. There's a lot of cool stuff to talk about with this movie, namely in that it's one of those films, it happens very frequently in the horror genre, but, you know, initially it's not very well received by critics or fans or anything like that, and then it goes on to become a cult classic. And not only a cult classic, but in the case of Black Christmas, recognized as probably one of the best slashers, one of the best horror films, just period, ever made.
Right.
To which I agree.
Well, I could see why people would not be well received to this film initially.
What makes you say that?
It was the 70s.
The ineptness of the police is just jaw-dropping. Like,
I mean, the cops in these movies are always terrible.
Bad. Yeah.
In fact, the lieutenant guy is the
really
same
bad.
motherfucker from Nightmare on Elm Street. It's the same.
Yeah, well,
terrible.
yeah, he was
better there.
He's an icon in the horror
John
industry.
Saxon.
He's been in a lot of, John Saxon. But I mean, if anything,
there,
this movie is a striking expose on how you are your own personal responsibility, and even if you go to the cops, they probably can't and won't save you because
they're too
they're
slow.
inept.
I kind of disagree in this case because, at least for John Saxon's character, Lieutenant Ken Fuller, I think he was doing everything in his power to try to help. It was really just the fucking secretary guy, fucking Sergeant Nash, who was the inept one. But which I thought was actually a really effective, like, writing element in this movie, that they built Sergeant Nash as like the sort of dumbass cop who's kind of just like going with the motions, because it was later in the film where, because of that buildup, you expected him to fuck up telling her to get out of the house.
Yeah.
So I liked how that was built up. A large portion of this movie is shot and told through the perspective of our killer, Billy. It's me, Billy. And in fact, the movie starts out in his perspective, and this guy, he's got the worst case of needing a fucking tissue that I've ever seen him out. He's the mouth breather from Hey Arnold, just fucking,
yeah, when he's making all those crazy sounds on the phone, I'm like, is this a fucking gremlin? Is this the wrong movie?
yeah, you watched the wrong movie, dude. This is based on the urban legend that I'm sure you're familiar with, Marvin, the babysitter and the man upstairs.
Yeah.
That urban legend really became pervasive in the 60s. It's also loosely based on a series of murders that took place in Montreal, I think in the 40s or 50s, where a 14-year-old kid like bludgeoned his family to death.
Ooh.
Or something like that. And this is an interesting little tidbit of information. When the movie was set to make its network television premiere on Saturday.
Premiered on network television?
Yep, January 28th, 1978 on NBC's weekly Saturday Night at the Movies.
Oh, good. Just scarred some children randomly. It just random Saturday night movie come on.
Well, it actually there was a controversy, and it didn't get released on television as far as I understand it, because 2 weeks prior to its premiere, the Chi Omega sorority house on the campus of Florida State University in Tallahassee was the scene of a double murder in which 2 Chi Omega sisters, asleep in their beds, were bludgeoned to death. The killer then went to a nearby room in the sorority house and violently attacked 2 more sleeping co-eds who survived. And Marvin, do you know who this killer was later identified as?
Billy.
Ted Bundy.
Oh, shit.
So this movie tried to premiere on TV 2 weeks before Ted Bundy's murders.
Jesus Christ.
And of course, Ted Bundy later went on to be executed in 1989 for those exact homicides. It's got a lot of stuff in it, and I'm sure you noticed it along the way. I was curious the whole time. Like you knew about that trope of like the calls coming from inside the house. Like you've heard
calls are coming from the house. Yeah. No, I actually hadn't heard that before. No.
Really? There's that thing of the call is coming from inside the house. So it's what the officer
guy says it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's been in The Simpsons, because when The Simpsons does their like Halloween specials, it's referenced quite a bit in other pop culture is what I meant.
Oh, okay.
This movie is one of the biggest inspirations for Halloween. And I don't know, did you notice a lot of the parallels and similarities there?
For sure. Definitely the killer's POV.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a lot more kills in this than
the Halloween,
Halloween. It was like
the breathing, the lack of gore. There's a little bit of gore.
7, yeah, it was 7. But a lot of, for sure. I could tell.
Well, there was supposed to be more gore in the movie, but they toned it down.
There were a lot of off-screen deaths. I mean, it kind of makes them not hit as hard when it's done so much, but I think it was still pretty satisfying.
See, we spoke recently about well, not recently, but probably around like the time we talked about Halloween, about how Dusty and I are particularly unaffected by horror movies, like modern horror movies, right? And this movie has has the things that do creep me out, same as Halloween. That's why I think Halloween is such an effective movie, as is this one. It's like that's that unknown element that makes you scared. And this movie does it even more than Halloween, in that you get literally no backstory to Billy at all. I mean, you formulate your own thing with his fucking rantings of like, does he have like some weird fucked up like home life? Because he kept saying, what is it, Agnes? You left the baby with Billy. You left the baby with Billy.
I know what you did, Billy. Stupid Billy. Billy.
You get some elements that you could build on, but you don't even fucking see the guy's face. Like Michael Myers is eventually revealed in Halloween. Sorry, the shape. Is eventually revealed in Halloween. You get the backstory of him killing his sister and the doctor and Loomis and all that. So this takes that concept to an even more extreme. And you see him right there in the background. Like, that's creepy as fuck. Right there, that's creepy, out of focus. But not seeing him at all, ooh.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Well, seeing his eye was scary as fuck.
Yeah.
That shit was terrifying. Just that fucking eye, dude. Oh my God.
It's scary because, again, at least to me, once you explain away the horror, it's like, okay, whatever. Because generally speaking, once the explanation comes in a movie like that, it's usually too much and it's too disarming. I think a good example of this, and I know you haven't seen it, Marvin, but I want to bring it up, Barbarian. Dusty. We both agreed that movie is extremely creepy up until that reveal where it's kind of like, oh, all right. Similarly, in movies like Smile, which I know you have watched recently, Marvin, other paranormal movies, when the entity or whatever it is finally revealed, it's always just like, oh, really? That's what you're going with?
I think that's okay, though, as long as the journey there is full of suspense, like with Barbarian, like you said, as long as the journey itself is like, oh my God, this is super creepy.
Problem is,
okay if the ending is like, because it's either that or you don't know, you never know what happened or something, right? Like kind of like this. Yeah. Like I love how this movie ends. Like we don't know who the killer is. We don't even know the fate of Jess. It's like,
nope.
That's great. But at the same time, if they explain it, then it's like, oh, that was stupid or whatever, whatever. But it's hard. I think it's hard to appease both, to have like the good build up and the good reveal. I think it's hard to do.
Well,
it's very difficult.
Sometimes having a reveal doesn't neutralize the build up, as you said. But I think for me, the thing that generally I think for me happens is that it does neutralize any of that tension.
Fear.
Yeah, any of that fear and tension that has been built up throughout the movie. It's almost
that's true.
It's almost like, going in for like surgery or like going to the dentist or jumping out of a fucking airplane. Like any of those things, the buildup is always scarier. And then once you do it, you're just like, oh, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But like you said, for this, it's like, it just leaves you with complete questions. Like, oh, fuck, he's obviously still alive. Still in the house. Still making phone calls. What the fuck happened to Jess?
Poor, what's her name, is still fucking in the rocking chair upstairs in the attic.
Some say she's still rocking today in the attic.
The house mother is still just hanging from the hook in the attic, probably.
Yep.
Bro, the house mother just got the worst death, I would say.
The hook to the face?
the hook to the
neck
face,
or whatever the fuck,
whatever it was.
Yeah.
She was hiding the damn liquor in the toilet. Like, did this shit take place during the Prohibition or what?
Dude,
like,
she had it bad.
No, that was.
Or she was probably hiding it from the
girls,
sorority girls.
Just a trope on the drunk house. Lead. She probably could have just kept it in a room. That's what people would just hide it in their
the
room.
Bible one or the book.
They want to go over
awesome.
the top of in the book, in the toilet. All the what
the
alcohol
toilet was just OD. Her death was so gruesome though. I mean, she was killed off screen, but you get a pretty good idea of how fucked up she got from that hook.
Mommy, come here. Where's Agnes? You want? What are you doing?
The sound design in the movie I thought was incredible.
Ooh,
the music, there's no real music, but the music that is, I wouldn't call it music. It's like a lot of the times it's these very unnerving
ambient
sounds of like, it's like hitting a piano, like when you hit the keys and you hear like bong,
the jarring,
or like a scrape on like a string instrument. There's like very just unsettling sounds in this movie that I think is really effective. And when the kills happen, you're hearing like the blood curdling screams kind of, but like muffled off in the distance. A lot of time throughout the movie, I was like, oh, this is a little bit stupid. Like people are screaming in the house and nobody hears it.
Nobody else hears it.
But this is a big ass old like fucking Victorian house. You probably wouldn't hear that shit.
Hell yeah.
You would hear it 100%.
Oh.
Bro, speaking of sounds, the sounds for me, the worst, those unicorn stabbing sounds were so fucking gross and like gritty, dude. That shit always makes me feel squeamish. Hearing someone get stabbed and you hear the fucking stabbing, it's like, that entire scene was good. Like the classic kid singing in the background.
Yeah.
While somebody's dying a fucking horrible death. That's just like a classic.
Well, we use the word trope a lot when we talk about horror movies, rightfully so. And, Halloween is credited with a lot of the invention of a lot of these slasher movie tropes, but really it's actually this movie, Black Christmas, that started a lot of these things. That's why over the years it has eventually gained a cult following. The fact that it did go on to inspire Halloween, the story being allegedly Bob Clark suggesting that a sequel for Black Christmas would be probably on Halloween. And then, as history would have it, somebody heard that and decided to make a Halloween movie. But the difference here, and again, I'm going to use this movie as another vehicle to suck John Carpenter's dick a little bit. This movie is I think it's very effective. I think it's shot really well. I think there's a lot of really creepy moments. There's a lot of theater of the mind stuff in this movie. But you see the difference in what this is versus what a very similar plot is in the hands of a visionary like John Carpenter. Because there's really not much that separates these two films apart. But what does is so fucking effective, and that's the little supernatural edge to Michael Myers that you don't get from Billy. Billy's pretty straightforward. He's just a fucking psychotic guy. He's clearly just a sick man.
I think John Carpenter has the cops clear the entire house after multiple murders. I don't think he leaves that out.
Well, right, but again, what I'm saying is that's the thing. It's like just take the difference. Like that's where like John, Marvin hears us talk about John Carpenter all the time. He's probably shut the fuck up already. Like we get it, but you see,
there's some little details that he elevates.
You see, and like talking about how creepy Billy is as a character, knowing nothing about him. Again, elevated just slightly with that little supernatural edge and that gray area that Michael Myers lives in, where it's like. He's not supernatural, but is he? Like Michael Myers lives in that but is he gray area, and it just makes it that much scarier, right? So while the ending of
levels to it. Yeah.
Right.
Let me ask you this. If you get a phone call and you're in a house where something like this happened and they say the killer's in the house, do you stay in the house? Do you call out to your friends and say, like, Hey guys.
Oftentimes in horror movies, you criticize like the person. I was ready to be like, bitch, just get out of the fucking house. The cop just told you to get the fucking house. Just listen and go.
Yeah.
But in that situation, like, it's hard to really say because you care about your friends and stuff. You don't know they're dead. You're going to want to like call out and try to help them and be like, let's fucking go, bitches. We got to go.
Yeah.
Right.
So I can put myself in this.
She didn't seem to do anything that would lead me to believe that she was prepared to go save her friends. Thusly, she should have fucking left.
She got the fucking fire poker. And that made for the scariest and like most thrilling part of the movie, at least for me. That chase scene where you see him fucking speed down the stairs, but like barely through the fucking spokes of the fucking banister and all that. I think that stuff was all very effective.
Yeah.
There's good camera work in this. I enjoyed that.
The thing that I really found interesting too, watching this movie in 2023, the Times Square killer, because that took place in the 1970s, but it was a guy who was basically just preying on sex workers. And the reason they got away with it and were so successful at it is because police didn't take cases seriously, involving women and involving sex workers.
Yep.
And it was always kind of just written off of like, oh, well, they got it coming because they're living that type of lifestyle. But this movie, Black Christmas, Bob Clark has said publicly, like, I never intended for this movie to be anything political or anything like that. But the movie does have a very feminist vibe to it in the sense there's a lot of going on, especially with the main character, Jess. In fact, she's often seen as one of horror's greatest final girls, not because of her monster fighting skills in the movie like other final girls like Laurie Strode and stuff like that, but because of her feminist sort of strength and that like, no, I'm having an abortion and it's not your choice, or like you know, yelling at the police and like the police sort of not taking seriously, especially when the first character goes missing. You know, the dad, Mr. Harrison, is like, no, I'm worried about this. And the cops are kind of like, she's probably with her fucking boyfriend somewhere.
Yeah, she's in a cabin.
And the little girl that they found dead in the park, they do the same thing. Like, you know, she'll turn up. She's only been gone for 2 hours. In a lot of these fucking cases that I watch about, these true crime cases, that's generally the reaction from the police. It's almost always like, they'll turn up. Like what the fuck are cops doing?
Why I said no, that's you. You are responsible for yourself and your safety. But it's not the cops. Do not rely on the cops.
I find it interesting that these topics were explored in horror movies in the fucking 70s. I've said this before, that horror movies were very progressive as a genre, dating way back when. So I always find that interesting to revisit a movie like this, and it's dealing with topics that we're still talking about here in 2023. Like, it's fucking, you know, like, enough already. Let's fucking deal with this shit.
We didn't even really talk about this, like how they set up Peter to be the killer, and then
talk about it. Let's talk about it.
I thought that was pretty interesting, especially it was like a perfect setup because he was so fucking weird and how he was about the abortion. It's like, oh my God, this guy might be the killer. Like,
hit you with that plot twist.
Yeah,
make you think.
They don't get into it.
The piano with the microphone stand.
He was definitely not right. But also, he was in a convent. He was like going to school to be a priest or whatever the fuck.
Oh, so he was.
And they touch on it very briefly. But that's why he was so against the abortion thing.
That makes a lot of sense now.
But they only mention it in that one conversation where he's like, oh, I don't want to fucking stand in line to take a bath or sleep in one room or blah, 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 blah. So I'm leaving I don't know if he doesn't use the word convent, but I forget what he says. I'm leaving the whatever. But yeah, no, that's a really interesting little side plot because, but the thing that's interesting about it is, you know, going back to that like progressive message type of thing, is that he was a problematic dude.
Right.
It's just a separate little problem in the overall arching issue of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's really cool. He was like a sub boss, kinda.
He really was.
He was a mini boss, and you know he had to be taken out. You know, no, Jess had to do her thing. She had to fucking kill a bitch.
She did kill a bitch, just not the right bitch.
He was right though. He was her right bitch. That's the thing. Because he would have been a problem for her. He was fucking standing like skulking outside the house and sleeping in her bed when she wasn't around. You don't fucking do that shit. Even if you are just dating, like, you don't just walk into a fucking chick's house.
For sure.
Come on now. It was ranked number 67 in IndieWire's 100 best horror movies of all time. I think it's one of the best horror movies ever made. Very, very clear that it heavily inspired Halloween, which is largely responsible for the birth of the slasher genre. So without Black Christmas, we probably wouldn't have Halloween. And without Halloween, who the fuck knows if where this genre would have gone to. This is sitting on IMDb at a 7.1. I'm right there. I would give this a 7.5. What about you guys?
I'll probably give this 8.
8.
An 8? Yeah. Nice. I only give it a 7, but it's a horror movie, so...
That's an 8, Marvin. That's high. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Leave a comment down below letting us know what you thought about Black Christmas. Leave a like if you like the video. Subscribe if you like the content. We will catch you guys in the next one.
See ya.
Later.
Asta.